Are you struggling with fat on your arms? Well, I've got 5 fantastic tips that are going to help you to target this area. Now, we know that unfortunately that arm fat, especially for women, is related to your hormones and something called estrogen dominance. And this means that your estrogen is actually a little bit higher than your progesterone in that relative mix in terms of that ratio. But there are certain ways that we can actually minimize that estrogen from spiking too high in comparison to your other hormones. Let's go through my 5 tips to help this. Okay, tip number 1 is to avoid plastics whenever you can. Plastics unfortunately contain xenoestrogens, and these are toxic estrogens which very much mimic our own natural estrogen. And of course, it sits on the estrogen receptor and can have a negative impact on the way that those cells are working. So avoiding those plastics, whether that's plastic water bottles, plastic food containers, whenever you can switch over to a good stainless steel, maybe even a glass container, this is going to have much more benefit for your arm fat because you're not going to be spiking those estrogen levels. Okay, tip number 2 is to balance your gut microbiome, and by making sure you've got enough of the good guys. So your probiotics in your gut are very much reliant on helping you to actually eliminate and evacuate those excess estrogens that you may have in your system. So this is something that by making sure that your microbiome is healthy, putting enough of the good guys back in, so specific strains of probiotics, my favorite ones are Lactobacillus acidophilus and Bifidobacterium bifidum. These strains are fantastic for helping to chelate or trap and eliminate that excess estrogen out of your system, which indirectly is helping with minimizing that arm fat. Okay, number 3 on my list is to lower your overall body weight and that inflammatory response as well. And this ties back to something called leptin resistance. So if you've seen any of my videos all about fixing your leptin resistance, if this is new to you, please make sure that you are learning more about that. I've got a bunch of tips on how to fix your leptin resistance. And this whole hormonal signaling, which is related to our fat cells and those signals going back up to the brain, is very much related to that inflammatory response as well. We've got to minimize that. Lower our body weight, and fixing your leptin resistance will help with that arm fat as well, because you're also now helping to target your metabolism and lowering your overall body weight. Okay, number 4 on my list is to increase a certain group of vegetables, and these are called the indole 3-carbinol vegetables. So in this group are the cruciferous veggies, so broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, bok choy. These are fantastic. Kale as well. These are fantastic because what they do is, again, they help to balance out your estrogen levels in a natural way. So load up on these veggies to help with that arm fat. And tip number 5 is to do some exercises to specifically target the tricep muscle. Now, no, you cannot convert fat into muscle. They're 2 separate and distinct tissues. However, by building your tricep muscles, it actually improves the appearance of the backs of the arms and tones things up in a good way. So some of my favorite exercises here are tricep kickbacks, which are amazing. So you can do them at the beginning. If you're new to exercising with weights, maybe not even use a weight. You could use a water bottle to do that. But getting heavier and heavier with that dumbbell or weight or rock or whatever you're holding on to for that tricep muscle, fantastic for that arm fat. I also love tricep push-ups. That's another key. So whatever you can do to target the back of the arm, helping to tone up that muscle. But overall, you've got to do some weight training to try to get some of that fat off your body and increase your metabolism. Now, for those tips on how to fix your leptin resistance, please check out my video, 10 tips for leptin resistance. I'll see you there.